This is a shir on Likutei Siches Chelek Tezvav Chanukah base. Chanukah, the second sicher. We see in Hilchas Chanukah, Zog the Rambam, at the end of Hilchas Chanukah, the Rambam says, "Oh, you're the fun of Ner base of Ner Chanukah. If a person has what he calls here the Ner, the candle of his house. Actually, this means the candle of Shabbos and the candle of Chanukah. In other words, he only has enough money to either buy a Shabbos candle or to buy a candle for Chanukah, Shabbos Chanukah. He only has enough money to buy either a candle for Shabbos or to buy wine for Kiddush. In both of those instances, Ner Beisek Kedem, that the candle of his house comes first. Shabbos candle comes first. Mishum Sholem Beisek, because of the peace in his house. Sharei, how do we know, in other words, that peace is so important? Sharei Hashem Nimchak, the name of Hashem is erased, Laseh Sholem Enish Lishte, to make peace between a man and his wife. Godel HaSholem, this continues, this is the Lashon HaRambam. Godel HaSholem, peace is so great, Shekol HaTorah, Nitna Laseh Sholem Elam, for the whole entire Torah was given to make peace in the world. Shanem, as it says, its paths, referring to Torah, are paths of pleasantness, and all of its pathways are Sholem, or peace. And this is the end of the Sefer Zmanim of the Rambam. The source of this halacha is in Masechta Shabbos, but there the Gemara says just one case. It says Ner Beisei Odif. There it says, sorry, not Ner Beisei Koidem like the Rambam says. It says Ner Beisei Odif. A Shabbos candle is better, is more important because of the Shalom Bayis. So we have to understand. First of all, what is forcing the Rambam to bring a raya from the fact that the name of Hashem is erased? Especially, we're going to ask a question. The Rabbi asks you a question on that raya. What's the question? I'm sorry, we're going to assume we're going to ask a question on the raya. No, sorry. Right now, the Rabbi is asking, especially, we want to know, why does the Rambam introduce a new concept? Godel HaSholem, peace is so great, the whole Torah was given to make peace. In other words, you said the halacha. Candle of Shabbos come first because Shalom Bayis is important, and even the name of Hashem is erased, and when a Soita is being judged, the Parsha is written with Hashem's name, and then it's erased, and she drinks that mixture, and if she comes out without having any after effect, she can remain married to her husband. So we see that for Shalom in the house, even the name of Hashem is wiped out, is erased. So that's enough. Why does he now, the Rambam introduces a new concept, with which he finishes the Sefer? Godel HaSholem, peace is so great, the whole Torah was given to make peace in the world. And the Rebbe says it's a doichik, it's a forced answer to say that the reason that Rambam adds this at the end is in order to end his book of Zmanim b'dover Torah. That's a concept of Sayim b'dover Torah, to finish with a good ending. Because the ending of to make peace between husband and wife is also a good ending. Even if you say that, because he followed that up with saying that the name of Hashem is erased, and that's not good, but he could have reworded it, and he could have made the Seder to finish the halacha that because of Shalom Bayis, the Shabbos candle comes first. He could have worked that into the lashon, into the language, to finish with a happy ending. By the way, says the Rebbe in the Hara, the Rebbe says in the points out in the Hara, that in Hara 7, that besides the main point that the Rambam, apparently, if you look at the various Sfarim of the Rambam, he doesn't always finish with a good thing. In Hara 6, the Rebbe points out, the truth is that the fact that he adds Godel HaSholem, the peace is so great, it does fit with other places where the Rambam brings a general inyan of that has to do with intention, with thought, at the end of a Sefer. But Al Kol Panim, says the Rebbe, we need to understand this. Why does Rambam bring in this Godel HaSholem? Why is this necessary? Of course, once the Rebbe explains us the explanation on this whole sugya, it's going to be fantastic. Base. Also, we have to understand. Aleph, the etzem proof, the proof that what did the Rambam say? How do we know that Shalom is so important? Because Hashem's name is erased in order to make peace. In other words, peace in the house is so important that it even pushes aside something so stringent, erasing Hashem's name. So how much more so the Ner Shabbos, which is in order to protect the peace in the home. We'll soon discuss what the function is, but generally speaking, it creates an aura of peace, and that people shouldn't trip up, and it's creates shalom. When you don't have light, it creates argumentativeness and sadness. So if Hashem's name is even erased to protect the peace in the home, how much more so we're talking about something smaller, that do the Shabbos candle before you do the Chanukah candle. But it's not, one thing is not the same as the other. Think about this. When we talk here about erasing Hashem's name in order to make peace between a husband and wife, we're talking about a woman who's suspected of being unfaithful, right? And we suspect she was told not to be seen in seclusion with a particular man, and she was. Now, this man, her husband, cannot stay married to her until the matter is brought to a conclusion. You need these waters of the Saita to allow her to be able to continue to live together. Now we know that them living as a family, we know that Ish v'Isha, when they have the schus, they are together. Shechina Shrui b'neim, they have Hashem's holy presence between them. We know that Chav Shalom people have to get divorced. It says that the Mizbeach cries tears, Mizbeach meri demois, etc. In other words, at stake here, when we talk about erasing Hashem's name, is the very marriage, the very allowance for them to be married. So for those reasons, it's such a major thing, so Hashem's name is erased. But here, what are we talking about? Here we're talking about an enhanced peace in the home. We don't want anybody to trip. One of the reasons for lighting the Shabbos candles is that nobody should trip on a stone or on wood. And that's going to create argumentativeness. Or because there's another reason, the household members would be pained to sit and eat in the darkness. Where is there any proof that for that kind of peace, which again is just an enhancement of peace, it's not stopping these two people from being married? Where is there a proof that for enhancing that peace, you're going to push off something so important like Pirsumei Nisa, like the publicizing of the Nes of Chanukah? In other words, you get the point. When we say that Hashem treats Shalom so importantly, and He even wipes out, erases His name, what do we say it about? When they're going to have to split up, otherwise they're going to have to be a divorce, God forbid. But here, when we say, here it's just about enhancing Shalom Bayis, how do we know that we're going to push off the mitzvah of Chanukah for that? Talking about sitting in the darkness, yeah, I want to. No, I'm not going to digress. Base in the etzem, in the law of the Rambam is mekatzer. He says it a little bit shorter, and he changes from the language of the Gemara in two ways. First of all, in the Gemara, there's two cases that are discussed. There's one case if you have a Shabbos candle and a Chanukah candle. Which one comes first? Shabbos candle is better because of Shalom Bayis. Then the Gemara says another case. If you have the Shabbos candle or you have Kiddush Hayom, you have the option to buy wine for Kiddush, the Shabbos candle comes first because of Shalom Bayis. The Rambam doesn't say there's two cases. The Rambam incorporates them all as one halacha. He says if you have your Shabbos candle and either Chanukah candle or Kiddush, those are the other options. The Shabbos candle comes before those other two separate cases, but he puts them together in one, so to speak, in one halacha, giving those two options. Why does he do that? Base, the lashon of the Gemara is ner base odif. If you have those two options, the Shabbos candle is better. It's more important. So that's why it comes first. The Rambam doesn't say it's more important. The Rambam says ner base kodim. The house, the candle of your Shabbos takes precedence, comes first, before. That's a difference. Especially, the Rebbe says in Orah 12, the lashon kodim could lead you to make a mistake, so it's not a lashon lashon. What could immediately leave a mistake? Kodim means do it before. It sounds like you do have an option to do both. When you say odif, which one's better if you can only do one? When you say which one comes first can also mean when you have both. It's a question of which one first. Now, that's not what the Rambam means here. It means you only had money for one, but still, it's clear that the Rambam chose the lashon kodim. It's got to tell us something instead of odif. Gimel. So we'll understand this by first understanding that where did the Rambam put these halachas? The Rambam put these halachas exactly where he wanted to put them. He put them in Hilchos Manim. He's exact where he places halachas. Why did he place the halachas in Hilchos Chanukah? Why didn't he put them in Hilchos Shabbos? Even though it's not a halacha that's relevant to every Shabbos, it's relevant once or twice a year on Shabbos Chanukah. But it is because we're saying that the Shabbos licht, that the Shabbos candle takes precedence. So that means we're highlighting the fact that the Shabbos candle is most important, even more important than Ner Chanukah. So you should have said it by the halachas about Shabbos. it becomes a bigger question when you look in the second halacha. Second thing that Rambam said is if you have a Shabbos candle and Kiddush wine, which comes first if you can't afford both? That has no connection to Chanukah. Why is that in Hilchas Chanukah? It only connects to Hilchas Shabbos. And it's only brought derech agav, because he brought about Shabbos candle and Chanukah candles. He also brought, same thing would apply if you have Shabbos candle or wine, you choose Shabbos candle. That should be in Hilchas Shabbos, not in Hilchas Chanukah. Moreover, in the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch we find taka, that the din is that the fact that Ner Shabbos precedes Ner Chanukah is brought in two places, Hilchas Shabbos and Hilchas Chanukah. Interesting that the Rebbe points out in Orah 14 that the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch also doesn't bring in Hilchas Shabbos. It seems that he also believed, like the Rambam, it should be in Hilchas Chanukah, but we don't have the Shulchan Aruch of the Alter Rebbe in Hilchas Chanukah. Al Koponim, even if you want to say that the Rambam doesn't write the halacha twice, but we find in the Klalim of the Rambam, the laws that the Rambam writes it once, and in the other place he assumes you know it. 1 second, the Tur Shulchan Aruch does write it twice. Okay, so the Rebbe points out here, Yeshleim B'talach Chiluk in the brackets, Shulchan Aruch means a set table. Shulchan Aruch is like a manual, it's telling you what to do. So in the Shulchan Aruch it could say it, you need to know about it on Shabbos as well. Can't wait till Chanukah. Sefer HaYad from Rambam, the Rambam is here to tell us all the Torah Sheba'al Peh. So he doesn't have to tell it to you twice. That's what the Rambam set out to do. It's not a manual that you should go step by step. What do I do now on Shabbos? It's telling you all the halachas of the Torah in a format. It's not going to say something twice. Okay, but if you have to say it once, why don't you say it in Hilchas? You should say it in Hilchas Shabbos. Hilchas Shabbos comes before Hilchas Chanukah. How are you supposed to know about this halacha until you get to Hilchas Chanukah? Granted, you say it once, not like in Shulchan Aruch, which brings it twice, but say it in Hilchas Shabbos. So the Rebbe explains like this: in the Geder of Ner Shabbos, why do we light the candle of Shabbos? The Rambam says in Hilchas Shabbos, it's got to do with Oineg Shabbos, the pleasure of Shabbos, and Kvod Shabbos, the honor of Shabbos. In Shulchan Aruch Hilchas Shabbos, in other words, in the Rambam Hilchas Shabbos, he does not write that it's for Shalom Bayis, for peace in the home. What is the peace? As we said before, Shlei Koshel Be'etza Be'evan, or B'nei Beisim Mitzdarim Lish B'cheshav, nobody should trip, or his family doesn't want to sit in the darkness. The Rambam doesn't mention that. He says it adds in the Einig and Kavod Shabbos. And this is very tamuah, it raises a wonder. Since the Rambam holds in Hilchas Chanukah that Ner Shabbos is better because it's Shalom Bayis, in other words, he holds that it creates a peace so people don't trip and they get to sit and enjoy in the light. So why doesn't he say that is the purpose of Ner Shabbos in Hilchas Shabbos? Why does he just refer to it as being covered in Einig? So we understand from here that the etzem chiyuv, the essential chiyuv of Shabbos candles, is not about Shalom Bayis. It's to add covered in Einig to Shabbos. Pleasure and honor. Although through Ner Shabbos, through the candle of Shabbos, you do achieve the inyan of peace, that's not the geder, that's not the reason of the mitzvah. If so, why are we saying that Shabbos candle comes before Chanukah candle? Because of Shalom Beisei. Shalom Beisei is not the essence of the mitzvah, it's not the reason for the mitzvah. So that's why the Rambam writes it not in Hilchas Shabbos, he writes it in Hilchas Chanukah. And he brings the proof because Hashem's name is erased. Here the Rambam is being mechadish, that the reason that Shabbos candle comes before because of Shalom Bayis is not because that the Ner of Shabbos is Shalom Bayis, and that's why it pushes off Ner Chanukah. Because as we said, the Rambam holds that the Shabbos candle is covered v'einig, is in addition to the Shabbos. But because peace in general is a big thing, and the fact that this mitzvah is getting pushed off because of peace, it's not called pushing off a mitzvah. Through this you fulfill another mitzvah. However, that mitzvah, b'poil, in actuality, you're not going to do the mitzvah. Hear what the Rebbe is saying next paragraph. The fact that the Ner Shabbos comes, but if you didn't get it yet, just hang on to after the next paragraph, and we'll go to Ha'ara, and we'll explain the inyan. The fact that Ner Shabbos comes before because of Shalom Bayis is also mitzad the content of Chanukah itself. Why? Because Chanukah is part of the Torah. The Torah is given to make peace. And therefore, the Rambam put the law in Hilchos Chanukah in order to negate that you shouldn't think that we're pushing off Chanukah in favor of Shabbos, but rather to allow us to understand that this is part of the laws of Chanukah. This fits and jives with Chanukah's agenda as well. In other words, look at Article 26. There's a concept like this. When you're busy with one mitzvah, you're doing a mitzvah, you're not obligated to interrupt and do another mitzvah. Why? According to Chassidus, we explain, because every mitzvah, what's the purpose of a mitzvah? Mitzvah's connection to Hashem. So right now, let's say you're doing a particular mitzvah for Hashem, you're connecting to Hashem. Comes along another mitzvah, so you say, oh, hang on. I have an incoming call. I got to stop. Stop to do what? To connect to Hashem. You're connected to Hashem right now with this mitzvah. That one has a different flavor. That one's a different details. But at its core, it is connected to Hashem. Similarly, when we talk about Chanukah, it's a mitzvah of the Torah. The Torah is all about peace. So now ask Mr. Chanukah. Ask Rabbi Chanukah. Ask Candle Chanukah. What should I do now? I can't either light you or light the Shabbos candle. Chanukah, as a man of peace, it's part of the Torah Shalom will say, you better do the mitzvah, the candle that brings actual physical peace, that creates people from tripping, creates argumentativeness, takes away the pain of sitting in the darkness. And this is what is going to become clearer a little bit. I hope you get the point. And the Rambam brings a raya from the fact that the name of Hashem is erased to make peace. Shalom is not just so powerful that it pushes off the very strict prohibition of erasing Hashem's name. It's much more. When you think about it, you say Hashem's name is erased for peace. More than that. Hashem's name is being written in order to erase. It's not like you had the name there of Hashem, you're going to erase it to generate the peace. You're going to write the name of Hashem in order for it to be erased into the water and then drunk in order... You know what that means? It means that the mitzvah of writing Hashem's name with all its holiness, with all its power, you don't miss out... You don't write a half of the name of Hashem or just a token or just a hay with a strash. You have to write the full name of Hashem and give avke. But the greatness of Hashem, holiness of Hashem, has an effect and is revealed through the fact that you erase it, because that's bringing peace. In other words, it's erasing Hashem's name, but it's writing Hashem's name in order to erase it, but in order to bring peace. That's how powerful peace is. So now we'll understand, when we talk about Ner Beisei Koidem, that the Ner of his house, the Ner Shabbos comes first. The Gemara says Ner Beisei Odif is better. No, it's not better. If you say Odif, you could learn it to mean that there's a tug of war between these two mitzvahs. And the mitzvah of Shabbos has a adifus, has a preference over the other mitzvah of Chanukah. It's stronger, it's more important. That's why it pushes off the other one. The Rambam says Odif, it doesn't say it better. It says Koidem, it comes first. The Gemara is trying to tell us the din. When it comes to the actuality of which one do you light, you can only do one. Do your house, do your shalom bayis. So in order to explain this, that it's not pshat that one mitzvah is pushing off the other one, but rather one mitzvah is synonymous actually. The second mitzvah that's getting pushed off is saying, no, I'm with you in this. So the Rambam then goes and says, Godel HaShalom, peace is great, and peace is so great, the whole Torah was given to make peace in the world. Since the whole Torah, in other words, every mitzvah, its agenda is to make peace, so it's understood that when you come to a mitzvah that's got to do with making literal peace, making light in the home that takes away the argumentativeness and falling and so on, sitting in the dark. So you can't say that the mitzvah of Shabbos pushes off the mitzvah of Chanukah. It's not pushing it off. It's not right to call it pushing it off. Because through fulfilling the mitzvah that brings peace, that brings actual peace, you're actually fulfilling the mandate of the other mitzvah, which is also about making peace. Imagine, I'm going to just give an example. Imagine you have a company, okay, and this company, there's two top executives. One speaks no native English. The other has an accent. Maybe one's more senior than the other. Who should speak for the press, for the CNN, for the American press? So the guy who speaks a better English, he's going to be able to explain things better. So then they come to the other guy who's maybe senior in rank and say, oh, don't you feel bad that you were pushed aside for this guy? He says, I was pushed aside? That's also what I want for the company, that this guy should speak is better. Let's come to Chanukah and ask, what should we do? Either you or Shalom Bai is one. He says, I'm all about peace, says Ner Chanukah. We'll soon see why Chanukah has really that strength to say, I'm all about peace. For sure you should light the Shabbos candle first. He doesn't feel pushed off. Now we'll also understand why the Rambam, when he says, has two inyanim. He says that these two things, that the candle in the house comes before Ner Chanukah and wine for Kiddush, he put it all in one halach. He didn't make two separate cases because it's all one point. The fact that the Shabbos candle pushes aside the Chanukah candle and it pushes aside Kiddush, it's not 2 points. It's 1 point, the same point. Since the whole purpose of Torah is Sholem, and all the mitzvahs of Torah all trying to lead us to peace, Ner Chanukah, wine for Kiddush, it's all the mitzvahs of the Torah which are trying to lead to peace. So, hello, it's the same thing. The Ner Shabbos is actual peace. It's not just conceptually peace, like the whole Torah mitzvahs. It's creating actually an aura of peace, protecting argumentativeness and so on. Again, argumentativeness, because if people trip, they start bickering and arguing. Who left that broom sticking out there? Vov, we can make this sweeter. This will help us make sweeter and understand better the connection between the mile of Shalom of all the Torah to laws of Chanukah. Because Chanukah is not just a detail of a mitzvah of the Torah, which Torah is in general to make peace. Chanukah is an expression and has a connection to the whole Torah. Why? The Rambam explains in the beginning of Hilchas Chanukah about the reason we have Chanukah. He says in the second Beis Hamikdash, when the kingdom of Greece was in power, they decreed things on the Jewish people and bitlu dasam, and they cancelled out their religion. They didn't allow them to occupy themselves in Torah, over mitzvahs and to do mitzvahs, chulu, etc. Hashem had mercy and He delivered them, saved them. Chulu. Because of this, the Chacham at that time says, we have a celebration for 8 days. Days of rejoicing and days of giving praise to Hashem. In other words, the whole point of Chanukah, it's not just a certain event that took place, which has individual mitzvahs like other Yomim Tov and other mitzvahs, either midrabanan or mitzvahs natera. More than that, Chanukah was a salvation from a general decree that the Greeks tried to keep us away from the entire religion of Judaism. The whole observance of Torah mitzvahs is at stake. So he's saying Chanukah represents the ability or the totality of Torah mitzvahs, and that's all about Shalom. Shalom, and that's why Ner Shabbos comes first, because it actually is not just Shalom, as we're going to explain soon. Spiritually, there's a peace being made, but it's actual peace. So that comes first. And that's not pushing off Chanukah. Chanukah agrees with that. Zayin. According to this, we'll understand why this law of Ner Beis HaKedem is said in Hilchas Chanukah. In other words, we understand now why it's said in Hilchas Chanukah. Hilchas Chanukah is not just an individual set of halachos. Hilchas Chanukah really is about the whole Torah being about us reclaiming the whole Torah, which we were decreed against. However, since the Rambam Dafka brings in Hilchas Chanukah, it seems to say that the Shalom, besides just because Chanukah has something to do with general Torah, the whole Torah, must also be something connected Dafka with Chanukah. We're never going to explain. So we'll understand this by prefacing what we find. So I think that at this stage, till this stage of the Sikha, 2 paragraphs into Zion, basically we have the explanation. Because now we're going to go into something a little subtle, a little more nuanced. I think we have the explanation, a basic explanation. why the Rambam says Ner Beis HaKodim, why he says in Hilchos Chanukah is about Torah in general, Torah is about Shalom. The reason that Shabbos kind of comes first is because it's an actual manifestation, it's an actual implementation of Shalom here in this world. Now the Rebbe is going to go even a little deeper and more precise. We'll understand all this. First, why Dafka by Chanukah Taka the Rambam teaches this? By first understanding that when we talk about Torah mitzvahs, there's two general Gedorim, there's two general aspects. The first is the doing mitzvahs, Anechi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God, an activity and a positive doing. Then there's base, the second, the converse, which is Lo Yilach Elokim Achem, you shouldn't have another God. Lo Yisasa, the non-doing mitzvahs, don't do this and that, which is a pull of stopping, negating, doing something which is inappropriate. Generally speaking, this is the difference between mitzvahs aseh, between the doing mitzvahs, and the mitzvahs leisas, and the mitzvahs of not doing. When we talk about the 7 rabbinic mitzvahs, however, all of them are about doing, but the purpose of them is to push away and negate negativity, as explained elsewhere at length. Let me just give you an example. One of the mitzvahs is Netilas Yadayim, you have to wash your hands. It's in order to negate that that a kohen should eat truma without properly guarding his hands. So it's a positive thing that's done in order to make sure something negative doesn't happen. Eruvin, we have to not allowed to carry unless you make an eruv, so that a person shouldn't come to make a mistake and carry in a way that's forbidden. So do something, but the purpose is to stop you from not violating something. And in general, you understand the mitzvahs that are bonon are safeguards. Do this, make sure you don't violate something. Ches, and this is in general the difference between Shabbos and Chanukah. Shabbos is about creating an aura of Shabbos, about creating menucha. The Rambam says at the beginning of Hilchos Shabbos that Shavisa Bashbi, the resting on the 7th day, mimalacha from work, mitzvah saseh, it's a mitzvah saseh, shene'emar, not that vayem hashvi tishbeis, on the 7th day you shall rest. Now, even though most laws of Shabbos are negative things, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, 39 Ovis Malachas, 39 kinds of work that are forbidden on Shabbos. Nonetheless, the Rambam starts with a mitzvah saseh, which is tishbeis, rest. Why? Because the content, the main thing of Shabbos is the fact that there's rest and there's a menucha, there's a day of resting and rest. Because the inyan of menucha on Shabbos, of the rest of Shabbos, it's not about not doing something. It's actually a positive aura, atmosphere that's created. As it says that in the beginning of creation, what was the world missing? It was missing Shabbos. When Shabbos came along, tranquility, rest came along. Shabbos is not an absence of us working. Shabbos is actually a creation of a state of being, of menucha, of rest. On the contrary, but it's brought about through not doing this, not doing this, not doing this. This creates the menucha. Chanukah is a little different. The Rambam says at length, Chanukah comes because we were negated from doing things. There was Gezeris, as we said, and they canceled out our religion, they didn't let us learn Torah mitzvahs, and they made a lot of pressure on us, and then the Chashmonoim came and they destroyed them. In other words, the Chashmonoim did something that negated, that was mavatal, that canceled out the negativity that the Greeks had done. So they canceled out the opposition to their mitzvahs. Through that came joy, simcha, halal, madlik manes, joy and praise. We say the halal all 8 days. And we light candles. Something positive has come out, but where did it start from? What prompted it? The destruction of the opposition. So according to this, we can understand, Tess, also about the Shabbos candle and the Chanukah candle. The Geder of Ner Shabbos is, the Geder of Ner Shabbos is like generally in Ner Shabbos, chiyuv, einig. It's a positive thing. The candle of Shabbos is, as we said, the Rambam says, it's about creating. It's about the pleasure of Shabbos, the honor of Shabbos. And that's why in Hilchos Shabbos, in the laws of Shabbos, the Rambam Taka says that it's the reason for the candle of Shabbos is about, it adds einig and kavod. In actuality, what does that actually do? Because the light of Shabbos is an illuminating light, so it creates a negation of the things that would disturb Shalom Bayis. In other words, it creates Shalom Bayis by taking away The issue of tripping, by taking away sitting in the dark. Ner Chanukah doesn't have that, by the way. You're not allowed to use the light. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, isn't there residual light anyway? I'm just thinking out loud here. I didn't look. There's a ha'orah here that sends to a lavush. Something I didn't look it up. But the Chanukah licht in those times, the Gemara times, was definitely outside. It didn't help from the inside. Anyway, so the Shabbos candles, they're there to create an aura of kavod and eineg. At the same time, they negate the opposing negativity of tripping and eating in the dark. So Ner Chanukah, even though it's about shining and showing the miracle, so it's a positive thing, and that's why a person has to be very careful of the mitzvah of the Ner Chanukah in order to publicize the miracle. And L'Ha'isif, to add B'Shevach HaKel, in the praise of Hashem, V'Hidoyaleh, and the thanking Him Al Hanisim Sh'Oslan for the miracles He did for us. By lighting the candles, we are adding in Hashem's praise. On the other hand, what brought to this lighting? The negation of the negativity of the oppression and of the cancellation of Torah of the Greeks. Right? So it came from a cancellation of negativity, and that's what led to a positivity to lighting candles. And this is also brought out through the candles, because like you said in the candles, by the candles of Chanukah, we say Al Haner Halalu. These candles, we say Haner, right? Where do we light them for? Al Hatshuos, for being saved. Val Hanisim, Val Haniflois, the wonders. These are military wonders also. As the Rebbe says, explains this Ba'arichas elsewhere. So therefore, when it comes to Shaila, what comes first? Shabbos candle or Chanukah candle, or Shabbos candle, wine for Kiddush. So Hilchas Chanukah says that the Shalom Bais comes first. The Shabbos candle comes first. Why? Because since the Shabbos candle has an effect that it illuminates and affects the house, it creates a peace in the house in physically and literally. So from this we understand that the concept of peace is achieved more here than through the light of Chanukah. Because you actually, light of Chanukah, you can't use it. It doesn't have an effect on creating peace in the home. It's announcing the miracle. So if this is a mitzvah that literally brings peace, so Chanukah candle itself, the halachas of Chanukah will say, light the candle in the house. Because I'm also about peace. And about this, Yud. About this, the Rambam brings a proof from the fact that Shalom here, the Rebbe is saying in brackets, means getting rid of an opponent. When there's no opponent, you don't have to make peace. Everything's good. So the Rambam brings a proof that this union of peace, ridding oneself of an opponent, is more important than the chiyuv, than the obligation to add in light and kedusha. It's not just the law of Chanukah. It's not just if you have the Chanukah candle or the Shabbos candle, which one to do the Shabbos candle because it adds light. No, because it adds Shalom Bais. This is in general by the Torah. This is the whole purpose of the Torah, because we see that we erase Hashem's name to make peace between a husband and a wife. In other words, the highest level of Hashem's name, which is Shema Vayut Kevavke. It's called the essential name Shema Etzem. It's called the Shema Meferish, the explicit, the most explanatory name. It's called the Shema Miyuchad, the non-explanatory Shema Meferish. I'm not sure. Sorry, we have to get a good translation for that. It's most explicit name, so to speak, that expresses Hashem. Shema Miyuchad, the special, unique, Shema Miyuchad, the specialized name of Hashem. So much so, it's so holy we don't say it. Yud Kei Vav Kei, right? And when this holy name of Hashem is written with ink on parchment, it's the highest level of bringing down holiness into the world. That's why we have to. It's a very holy thing when Hashem's name is written down on parchment. Nonetheless, we see that we write the name of Hashem, this holy name, with the intention to erase it, in order to bring peace between a husband and wife. Because the whole purpose of writing Hashem's name and bringing down this kedusha into the world is in order to bring shalom. Shalom is what? Shalom is where there's a fight. There shouldn't be this fight. There shouldn't be this division, this divisiveness between husband and wife. And the Rambam continues and he explains, where do we see this? Why is it that Hashem's name, the great name, is being written in order to create peace? Because Godel Hashalom, Shalom is so great, because the whole Torah is given to make peace in this world. Here the Rebbe says, look, listen to the language. The Torah is given to make Shalom ba'olam, peace in the world. The fact that the Torah Nitna is given, where is it given to? Up there, it's there. The fact that it's given down below is not in order to draw down more Kedusha in all the upper worlds and also down here. It's in order to engage here. It's about making peace in this world. Where do you need peace? In the upper worlds you don't need peace. There's no opponents. Peace is where there's opposition and argumentativeness. And you got to get rid of it. That's where you need peace. In other words, the whole Torah, all the mitzvahs, even things that are all about bringing down holiness and adding light and holiness, even by them, the main thing is to rid the environment of opposition. Lasa shalom, to make peace, to be mavatal, to cancel out the inyan of Olam, the inyan of the world that's opposes to Kedusha. Yud Aleph, to explain this deeper. The emes, the truth and the wholesomeness of shalom is not just when you get rid of the opposition. Also when it's in a matzav that there can't be an opposition, there can't be an opponent. Why? Because it becomes revealed that the second person's deeper reality and more wholesome reality is not different than yours. There's a oneness that's revealed all of a sudden. And this is the inner explanation of what it means that Torah was given to make peace in the world. Because the emes reality of world is Torah and Elikus. Not just because Elikus is the call, is godliness is the whole purpose of its creation. Like Alter Rebbe explains at great length. In other words, if Hashem would stop creating the world, it wouldn't be. I once heard a parable. It's like you blow bubbles into a cup. You stop blowing, the bubbles stop. The bubbles come from the air. You're blowing in the straw. If the Hashem stops creating, we know what Alter Rebbe says, the world stops. It's more than that, though. What becomes revealed is that the true reality of the Yesh HaNivra, the true reality of the created being, is the Yesh HaAmiti, is really just really Hashem's essence. Hashem's the Yesh HaAmiti, the true being. Ein Eid Milvad is nothing but Hashem. That's really what's coming out here. Olam, the word Olam comes from the expression Helam, of obscuring. The world in and of itself obscures and hides, conceals over the godly light. You don't see it in the world that it's a world of godliness. On the contrary, the world seems to be its own entity, its own reality. And you could think that, no, it's not Elikus. You could even, God forbid, make the mistake that it doesn't need Hashem's power to keep it alive. That it has some kind of a independence. People could even make the mistake to think that this whole big city is this whole world is without a leader, God forbid. And that's why the Torah was given, to make peace here in this world, in the place where God's presence is obscured, to make the peace between the world and, so to speak, Hashem. He should be able to be recognized and felt, not just that the world is not in opposition to Hashem, to Elikus, to godliness, more than that. Not just that it needs Hashem constantly for its existence, but the reality of its existence is really Hashem's existence. It's nothing outside of Hashem, God forbid. And therefore, we understand that even though Torah mitzvahs, there's both sides. There's positive, drawing down holiness, and there's negation, making sure there's nothing of opposition. But the intention and the purpose of the whole Torah, both sides of the Torah, the doing and the making sure not to do something opposing, both sides of the Torah are all about making peace. To reveal in the world that the true reality of the world is godliness. This comes through canceling the not truth, the nitemes, the untruth of world, that the world is obscuring elikus, godliness. Once you get rid of that obscuration, then you get the revelation that the real mitzvah of the world is elikus, the real reality of the world is godliness. Yud Bey says the Rebbe, and this is connected with the general in of Chanukah, because the victory of the Yidden and the fact that there was cancelled the gezeres, all those decrees that were made, and that their religion was cancelled, didn't let them do Torah mitzvahs, it came through Mesiras Nefesh, through the fact that the Chashmonaim in those days had self-sacrifice for Kiddush Hashem. They went to give up their lives for Hashem's name. And the concept of Mesiras Nefesh, giving up your life, it comes from the deepest level of the neshama of Yichida. And that's the level from where the true concept of peace comes. For Yichida, there's nothing that can stand in opposition to it, as the Middle explains at length. The Mela, that brought down a reality in this world that they cancelled out the negativity. And the Malchus, the kingdom, came back to Eden. In other words, there was literally peace. So from all this, now there's 3 dots, because the Rebbe is taking it to a practical thing, which is a little bit, not necessarily the continuation of Sikha. Now there's a practical application. Actually, I'm not sure why the 3 dots are. It's Eis Yud Gimel. From all of this, we understand that also every year, the entire year, we have to be very careful with, we have to put a lot of emphasis on lighting Shabbos candles. That every Jewish daughter, even before their marriage, immediately when they get to the age where they can understand this concept, when they come to a level of chinuch, so every girl should light Shabbos candles, as we've spoken many times at great length. So when it comes to Chanukah, this is even more relevant. We should use the days of Chanukah in particular with all of the opportunities, not just to spread the Chanukah candles, also to strengthen the mivtza, the campaign of Neshek Neider Shabbos Kodesh, that all girls and all women and girls should light Shabbos candles. This will give also a strengthening. Das darf geben euch a Teis was Chizuk in der Status was Chazuk was man nimmt mit von die Meier Chanukah in die Tag was kommen nach Chanukah. This should also give us additional power that we take with us from the days of Chanukah to the days of after Chanukah. Now, when all the candles of mitzvah, Shabbos candles, Chanukah candles, come together, then together they create a great torch, which will illuminate the darkness of Golus. And then comes the Gula through Mashiach Tzidkenu, where then it says that there will be literally peace in the world. At that time there won't be any hunger, there won't be any war, there won't be any kina, jealousy, v'tachus, competition, because Mashiach will fix the world. It'll make the world all together serve Hashem, as it says, then I will transform all the world to be speaking a clear language, to call out in the name of Hashem, and to serve Him in one block, in one way. And it will be fulfilled that the Novi says, I'll show you the lights of Tzion. Oh, actually it's in Yalkut Shimoni, apparently, the lighting of the Neiris in the 3rd Beis HaMikdash. I want to call your attention to a ha'ara that really jumped out at me. Look at ha'ara 31. So the Rebbe had told us that the candle of Shabbos is not being pushed. The candle of Chanukah is not being pushed away by Shabbos. That's what Chanukah wants, because Chanukah is about peace. Torah is about peace. It wants you to do the peaceful, bring peace by lighting Shabbos candles. At the end of Ha'ara 31, the Rebbe says like this: one of the differences. Why is it important to know it's a law in Chanukah? Why is it said in Hilchos Chanukah? Because it's not a law of Shabbos. It's a law within Chanukah. Why? What's one of the differences whether it's law in Shabbos and law in Chanukah? Shegam b'nei beisech yetze b'zeh yir'uhu al kolponim v'teich shir adlok snei Chanukah. That also the family members or anybody else who needs to be Yetze or who would have been Yetze Chanukah in this house should see the Shabbos candle, at least should see the Shabbos candle, and in the time when the Chanukah candle should have been lit. In other words, let's take this scenario. There's only money for one candle. We're buying a Shabbos candle for Shalom Bayis. The Rebbe just explained that mitzad Hilchos Chanukah, Chanukah says that's what you should do. I don't feel pushed aside. I'm all about peace, because I'm about the fact that the Torah was saved. We were saved from the Greeks. We're allowed to keep Torah. Torah is peace. Oh yeah, if it's between me and you, Shabbos candle, it's you. So really, the Shabbos candle is now an expression of the Chanukah candle. Says the Rebbe, if I understood this correctly. So if it's an expression of the Chanukah candle, although it's technically a Shabbos candle, but this is right now in the cahoots, so to speak, in tandem. This is the message that the Chanukah candle is giving. Go stand. You don't have a Chanukah candle to stand by? This is the Chanukah candle saying, here, Shabbos candle, you shine. So go stand there, because it's the representation of the Chanukah candle expressed in the Shabbos candle. That's what it seems to me. Thank you very much. A freilich and rest of Chanukah.